Today, we're going to talk about a man who did way more than just win championships. He completely shattered barriers, he rewrote the rules, and really, he laid the groundwork for the modern athlete, all while the entire world was telling him he couldn't. I mean, that one line right there, it just says it all. In an era that was defined by limits and segregation, one guy just saw open doors everywhere he looked. This is the story of that absolute refusal to be contained. It sounds like a huge question, right? But that is exactly what he did. His impact reached so far beyond the boxing ring, it set off these massive shifts in sports, in race relations, and in culture itself. So let's get into the story of Jack Johnson. Okay, so to really get why he was such a revolutionary, we have to understand the world he was born into. A world where the biggest prize in all of sports was protected by a very, very rigid color line. You see, the heavyweight championship was seen as this ultimate symbol of manhood and power. And for the people in charge, that meant it had to be white. But Jack Johnson, this guy they called the Galveston Giant, he wasn't interested in knocking politely on that door. He was getting ready to kick it right off its hinges. See, the thing about Johnson was he knew he was the best fighter alive, and he was absolutely determined to prove it to everyone. That belief sent him on this incredible chase for the guy who held the title, the champion, Tommy Burns. And this was no small thing. Johnson literally pursued Burns all over the globe, from America to Europe and finally all the way to Australia. He just kept forcing the issue until Burns had nowhere left to run. So in 1908, Johnson finally gets his shot. And after 14 punishing rounds, the police actually had to jump in the ring to stop the fight, just to save Burns from getting hurt even worse. And just like that, there was a new champion. And this is what was so amazing about his attitude. He wasn't just winning, he was putting on a performance. He had this unshakable, almost casual confidence. He'd be taunting Burns, flashing a smile for the cameras at ringside, all while just masterfully blocking everything thrown at him. He wasn't just there to win a fight. He was there to dominate, and you could tell he was loving every second of it. But winning that championship, that was just the opening bell. Johnson's real fight was just getting started. He was about to challenge pretty much every rule there was, both inside the ring and out in the world. So this right here shows you just how different he was. You know, boxing back then was mostly just brute force. It was a slugfest, two guys just swinging wildly. But Johnson, he was a defensive genius. He brought science and strategy into a sport that was all about brawling. He was outthinking his opponents way before he ever outpunched them. He even invented his own signature style. So picture this. Instead of just blocking a punch, he would lean back and literally catch his opponent's glove in midair. He'd absorb all the force and then use their own momentum against them to fire back with a perfect counterpunch. It was just brilliant, totally efficient, and nobody had ever seen anything like it. And his defiance? It didn't stop when the fight was over, not by a long shot. In a time when society demanded Black Americans be basically invisible, Johnson was the exact opposite. He lived loud. He wore the best suits, drove the fastest cars, and absolutely refused to live by anyone's rules but his own. He was demanding to be seen as a free, successful man, not just as a boxer. So, as you can imagine, Johnson's total dominance and his unapologetic lifestyle created this frenzy. White America became desperate to find someone, anyone, who could put him back in his place. And that desperation led to the search for a great white hope, which set the stage for one of the biggest sporting events in history. And the man they picked was the former undefeated champion, James J. Jeffries. They literally coaxed him out of retirement for one single purpose, and they said it out loud, to reclaim the title for the white race. So yeah, this was way, way more than just a fight. It was like a referendum on race in America. So the date is set, July 4th, 1910. It's in the middle of the searing heat in Reno, Nevada, and the fight of the century is on. I mean, can you even begin to imagine the kind of pressure that was on Jack Johnson? But Johnson didn't just win. For 15 brutal rounds, he systematically, scientifically, just took Jeffries apart. He proved, beyond any doubt, that technique and skill were just flat out better than brute force. It got so bad that Jeffries' own corner had to throw in the towel in the 15th round just to save him from being knocked out cold. The outcome was just undeniable. Jack Johnson was the best fighter in the world, period. And his victory sent a massive shockwave across the entire country. It was a message that skill has no skin color. And that message was so powerful that it sparked these huge celebrations in Black communities and also, tragically, sparked violent race riots in others. The cultural shift was immediate and it was huge. So, what does all of this add up to? Well, Jack Johnson's legacy is so much more than a win-loss record. He really did lay out the blueprint for everything that was going to come after him. He wasn't just an athlete. His mind was brilliant. And not just in the ring. He was an inventor. He actually held a patent for a type of wrench. And more than that, he was a crusader for his own freedom. He faced down legal persecution, social opposition, and he never, ever backed down from who he was, no matter what it cost him. And that's why this quote just nails it perfectly. When you think about the modern athlete, the one who's a cultural force, a business person, an individual who speaks their mind, you can trace so much of that idea right back to the trail that Jack Johnson blazed over 100 years ago. So that's the real question to think about. Was he simply a great boxer who won a title, or was he something much, much bigger? A visionary who forced a conversation and created a whole new idea of what an athlete could be. A force that society, no matter how hard it tried, simply could not ignore.